Greetings, loyal listeners. You are now listening to an encore presentation of a B30 Two Guys, One Mic session. So please stand by as the previously recorded podcast will begin shortly. Thank you once again for choosing B30 for your listening pleasure. So for starters, there's this topic that I've been really fascinated about. Is for those people who are Christians and are into the abstinence movement, they've been kind of conditioned or socially conditioned to, abstain from sex and sexual desire and not look at people in a lustful way. So then maybe if they're watching like Hollywood movies, they fast forward sex scenes and I don't know, it's just kind of awkward for them. But then all of a sudden they get married. After the wedding night, the ban's been lifted. They get to do the business. They get to do the deed. So what do? They spend their whole lives not thinking about sex, not learning about sex, and trying not to watch it. What do they do? And this was very relevant to me because I went to a whole bunch of weddings where, these wholesome Christian kids go to little church events and, very pure heart, pure mind. And then all of a sudden on a wedding night, they're like, all right, the gloves are off, no holds barred. What do they do? Oh, by the way, today there is a special guest with me. Special guest, may you identify yourself?
How's it going? I'm Josh. I don't know what else to say.
Well put. My man Josh here will be the light of reason and keep me in line to make sure I don't go off tangent.
I might just come across more like devil's advocate kind of a thing going on here, but we'll see what it goes.
Well said. Okay, luckily I came across this article written by a PhD English prof, I'm guessing, from Baylor University. Her name is Rachel Pietka. Oh, please, Lord, that I did not mispronounce her name. But she wrote a pretty interesting article about Christians, sex, and how sexual compatibility within Christian marriage is kind of not talked about. So here's the deal. I'm going to bring up points from her article that she made, and my man Josh here is going to provide some real-life, everyday, applicable, pragmatic reason behind what I'm basically trying to say is he's going to give some real-world feedback as to whether her argument or the statements that she made hold some real value in the real world. If you're sick of hearing what I'm trying to explain here, Josh, do you think you can help me out and then summarize what I just said there?
No, not really. Not right now.
See, this is why I have Josh here. Sometimes I go off in my own world. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, really smart lady wrote an article about Christians and sex and marriage. I'm going to bring up some points, and my man Josh here is going to keep me in line. We're going to offer his 2 cents whether the points she makes make sense. Does that make sense?
I kind of don't want to answer that. That makes me sound like an idiot now. Continue on, please.
Okay, I'm going to make a bunch of points from an article. My man Josh here is going to give me some feedback whether it makes sense.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, that's a good start. Okay, the article starts off by citing another lady by the name of Jessica Henriquez. Oh Lord, please forgive me if I butchered the pronunciation.
Are you even supposed to use real name?
Yeah, why not? That's the basis of the article. So Jessica wrote this article called My Virginity Mistake. What Jessica did was she pledged herself to Jesus at a purity ceremony at age 14. She remained a virgin. 6 years later, she got married. The thing is, she wound up getting divorced. And here's the reason why they got divorced, though. She and her husband could not make things work in the bedroom.
Can you define that a little bit more?
So what she meant by things...
Not making things work?
Things did not work in the bedroom. I'm assuming the act of sexual intercourse was not pleasurable.
Continue.
Perhaps there was no intimate connection.
Okay, continue.
I'm maybe looking into the words, but they had sex, it didn't feel good, and they didn't connect. Okay? Maybe that's why they got divorced. And the article goes on to say, an issue the abstinence movement rarely acknowledges is that sometimes in marriage, there is sexual incompatibility. For me, I think that's a good point, because you spend your whole life avoiding sex, try not to watch it on TV, try not to look at porn, and all of a sudden, you get married, you're allowed to do the business. You have no idea what you're doing. It's kind of like, okay, I guess we follow what the Hollywood films do. You take off your clothes, and then what do we do next kind of thing.
What does she watch? Does she even watch TV nowadays? I mean, you can't even see a music video without any sexual content nowadays. Like, so you're saying she was pretty sheltered.
No, what I'm trying to say is they don't know what to do. Like, these wholesome Christians, you're not supposed to copy what Hollywood's doing, so how then are you supposed to perform or engage in this very sensual activity known as sex?
But I gotta ask, there was so far, you haven't said anything about the guy's perspective. Like, was the guy lost? Is that why the whole thing was not up to par?
That's the thing with this article. It's an article within an article. So the details of the actual bedroom activities is not mentioned. But the key or bottom line remains is there was sexual incompatibility. And because of this, Jessica Henriquez got a divorce.
It doesn't even make sense. Like, if Jessica complaining about the sex, then how does she know what it's supposed to be like in the first place? She should not even know. So therefore, this shouldn't even be a problem in the first place.
Oh, that's a good point. You don't even know what good sex entails or what it should feel like, then how would you know that's supposed to be good sex? That's a good point. That's a good point.
Like, not to be rude, not to be sexist, but I kind of have to say it. Like, all you got to do is basically bend over and take it right now. But then at the same time, she's complaining that they're supposed to be passionate or some connectivity. Oh, well, these things are not really known to her, I guess, until you explore it.
Now, if I may just clarify what my associate Josh just said. When he meant to bend over and take it, what he meant to say is that as the female participant, you should expect vaginal penetration. Let me clarify, vaginal penetration. The original premise stands, if you've never been penetrated in the vaginal region, then technically you shouldn't know how it should feel like. Very good point, very good point. But what I'm seeing is there should be some kind of unspeakable feeling, something intimate, something that you don't need experience to know that it's done right. Maybe I'm just putting words in her mouth. Okay.
I cannot speak to that.
Let the record show I meant words in her mouth. Words in her mouth. We'll leave the sexual innuendo and jokes aside. Which brings me to my next point is, for those who practice abstinence, I guess there's this kind of unspoken expectation that, hey, if you don't do it before marriage, you just stay disciplined, stay away from it, and then you get married and you have sex, then it creates this expectation, oh, it's going to be great. They call it like reward sex, so to speak. It's going to be like electric, erotic. There's this kind of expectation where if you hold off on sex till after the marriage, it's going to be great. But in this case, it's not true. Why should people wait for sex after marriage then?
Well, that really puzzles me. What's considered erotic if you don't know the topic in the first place? Like, how can you even compare? Like, typical regular sex is probably already really erotic for you already if you are the true abstinent, like, believer and withholding everything and not even looking at TV with sexual content in it.
Very valuable point. So what you're saying is, I don't know,
there's no basis. There's no, like, you have to know, like, black and white. If you don't know what white is, then how do you know what black is? That's what I'm trying to get at. So, like, if there's no basis of what is supposed to be expected, then how would she know or what to say about judging what she received?
I guess so. I guess this is the main point is Jessica Henriquez.
You really gotta stop saying it with an accent.
I'm not trying to say it with an accent. See, it's Henriquez. I just want to emphasize the last part after the Q. The Q-U-E-Z. Anyways, okay. So I'm not good at pronouncing quote-unquote ethnic surnames. But I guess it comes down to Jessica's point, to Jessica's claim that she saved sex till after marriage. The sex wasn't great, and she wanted out. But again, my man Josh's point is, you never had sex before. How do you know what good sex isn't? And I guess that brings me to the next point in Rachel Pietka's article is, bad sex is neither a reason for divorce nor an excuse to stop investing in a marriage. Let me say that again. Bad sex, I repeat, bad sex is neither a reason for divorce nor an excuse to stop investing in a marriage.
Very valid point. I too agree with that.
See, the article doesn't explain when they got divorced, but it just explains Jessica got married at around 20, and then I'm just assuming shortly after she got a divorce. But if I may just quote from Jessica Pietka's article, although sex is intended God's gift to us, Christians are not directly commanded by God to have great sex. Couples may find themselves incompatible in the bedroom, and they should not be bombarded with pressure from the Christian community to start having good sex and lots of it. Instead, they should find support and comfort. And what I mean by support is support that sex is not the only thing that makes a good marriage. Sex is not the only thing that makes a good marriage. So it feels like Rachel Pietka is not on Jessica's side here. I feel for you, girl. Your sex isn't great, but that is not the only thing that makes a good marriage.
I thought Christianity can't really do it.
I don't know. I guess it really depends on your church heritage and your denomination and all that technical stuff.
I'm guessing just that's another topic.
Oh, yeah, because as you can see, I did not do my research. And I never did, and I never do, and I probably never will.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So if we were to review the premise of B30, what was the biblical content of this sharing? None. But was there at least some educational value from this kind of moment spent?
She's lying. She had sex.
She had sex. It wasn't enjoyable. She got a divorce. But that's not an excuse to get a divorce. And you should find some kind of support. I guess this is where counseling comes in.
Marriage counseling, yes. Almost even like occasional point. Watch some more porn.
I guess
technically you're allowed to because you're married.
That's another thing I don't know. But I guess it's not wrong to have a sex tutor.
Sure.
I don't know.
I kind of feel sorry for the guy.
Well, before we step on any more toes and offend any more people, perhaps this is a good time to say, man, thank you for listening. And anything else you want to add, Josh?
No, I'm good. This is pretty good. Pretty funny, actually. I'm trying to hold it in. I don't really want to comment too much. I'm going to get into too much trouble.
My man, Josh. So wise. So wise. Once again, thank you for listening, and goodbye.